Hi, yeah, just thought I'd do a update on the Westminster project so far. It has been a while since I've done a video, um, but as it is with all things, it's when I have the time and money to throw at the project. So as you can see, this is the cylinder head that you probably saw in the stills from the last video or the video before. I've recently painted this. I painted this last weekend using the just get that from here. Using the HR engine block enamel, the BMC and Mawog green. It's the proper green. I think I bought this online a few years ago. All I did was use a small spray gun and mixed it with a small amount of thinners just to get it to basically flow right off the end of a screwdriver, and I just put it in the gun, and it didn't come out too bad. I'm not a sprayer, I won't profess to be, but this is obviously it's only an engine block, but it looks a lot better than just leaving it in steel, because it would just rust. So this head, although I bought it with that, it had already been reconditioned to a degree, it had already been converted to unleaded and had the seats and valves recut, I wasn't particularly happy with the way the valve guides looked, so I pushed them out, or knocked them out with a drift, and drifted in some new ones, and as best as possible set up the valve stem height from the top of the head as best I could, and then when I went to push the valves back through, obviously as I pushed the valve guides through, they wouldn't go through all the way through. When you try to refit the valves, they locked up in the centre of the guide, so they had to go to Park Engineering, and there they had to, you can probably see it, they've had to bore the guides out and put a copper sleeve in, because unbeknown to me, just in experience, I thought you could just put a guide in. You can't, because the previous guide, the valve seats would have been centered to that guide, and the valve would have been cut to suit with that guide, so they've had to recut the seats to the new guides and recenter everything. But it looks a lot nicer than what was in there before. What was in there before was, I'm not really sure, but it was like a steel core, and when you pushed the valve up and down the guide, it kind of it literally wobbled up and down through the guide. It didn't fit particularly nice. It was very loose, and when you measured the guide and measured the valve, and there was quite a big difference. There was quite a lot of difference. So looking at what should be the allowed free play or difference between a valve and a guide in diameter, there was quite a lot. So that's that. And what I have got is obviously the new goodies to put in. New collets. These are an upgraded valve stem seal. They're not like the original. The original ones were like, this is actually one of them that's broken. They were like a rubber ring like that used to just sit on the valve itself. These eventually go hard, as you can tell. This one is split, but these are an updated version, more like a modern valve guide seal. It actually pushes over the top of the guide. So there's those. There's brand new top collars for the valve spring. Look, obviously the collets go inside there, and these are the lower collar. Now some of these I actually went to, I think it's, if I pronounce it right, Dennis Welch, and they couldn't supply me new ones of these. They could only supply second-hand ones. I did have some, but unfortunately due to being in this garage, I cleaned them, but I didn't re-lubricate them after cleaning them. I put them in a box and they became very rusty and pitted. So, and they also had quite a lot of wear. You could see where the valve spring had been sitting. These aren't too bad. These are pretty good. So I've just cleaned these up using T-cut and auto sol. So I wasn't actually using anything too abrasive. So I didn't sort of change the size of the shim. So these are actually second hand because that's all I could get. But obviously better than nothing. And these are the brand new springs with the inner one in there. You can just see the inner one there. So they're brand new. So everything on this cylinder head, apart from the casting, will be new, and it will be able to run on unleaded fuel. I've also painted up, the sump was actually painted a while ago, but I've also painted up the thermostat housing. A little bit of a run in it there, but that's not going to be really noticeable, I wouldn't have thought. But it's good paint. If you're a good painter, you think you can obviously do a lot better job than me, but it is good paint, and it is the right Austin or Morris colour, the right green. I can't remember what I paid for the tin. And then what else we've got? There's my Discovery inner wing. Still working on that. This is the block. And the block, now I'm not going to twist my camera because it will just change the picture. They're the valves obviously from the cylinder head. My conrods. And these have been remachined through where the big end bearings go. Basically been I don't know, I'm not sure what they call it. I wouldn't say reset, I don't know if it's recentered, but they've been remachined because obviously over a period of time, I guess conrods can slightly change shape with obviously the damage of the crank, the bad shape that this crank was in. Obviously, I've been told it could actually, these become maybe slightly out of circular, and they can take a small amount of material from the insides of obviously the two halves of the conrod end to make it basically so the bearings fit better. They put it back to circular again. I've also had new small ends or little end bushes put in there as well, so these just need a clean. They're currently greased because my garage isn't particularly dry during the winter, so things sweat and then they start to rust, so everything has to be kept lubricated. So I have a box full of conrods, and the block, as you can see in the last video I did, was already bored and skimmed or planed anyway. But what I have had done is I've had new camshaft bearings fitted. This is something I was going to try doing myself, but was advised not to do because you can just see, this is the one at the very last one, the back one there. I was advised not to do it myself because although I'd have probably would have been able to get a puck machined and everything to pull it in, because I did start making the puller to pull them out and push the new ones in. The engine remanufacturing company advised me that even if I did get the bushes in, the chances of the cam actually spinning, or even me being able to push it through the block, would be slim. And then so I got them to do it. It was a good price, and I did ask him, the machinist, was he able to push the cam through before doing any machine work after obviously pushing the new bearings in, and he said no, it would have been impossible. So well worth having a machine company do that for you. So next plan is to get these valves and all the springs and collets and collars and shims into the head, and then once the head is ready, I'll seal that up, and that'll live in the house for a while, because I can't leave it out here because it'll be totally degreased and it will just start to rust. So that'll go into the house, and then the next step will be to put the block back together. Still missing some vital components at the minute, really struggling to find exhaust manifolds for using twin engine 3/4 SUs. So I'm looking for those. If anyone has a set out there, I'll be really interested. I mean, I do have the set that belongs to the galleried head, but obviously I'm not using that anymore. I'm using the 3 litre Austin Healey head now. So that's an update of things so far, and I'll try and get another video to you shortly. I do have a box full of parts, new bits to look through. In fact, we could just do that now. I'm not making the video too long. I do have some parts here. Some bits have arrived from Dennis Welch, if I said it right. Oh no, there's nothing that's empty. What do I have in here? Oh, some goodies in here. what do I have in here? Oh look, that arrived a little while ago. That's a, excuse me, you can just see that. That is a new version of the timing chain tensioner. Instead of it being a metal plate with a rubber block glued to it, this is like a solid piece of pivoting nylon. It still works under oil pressure, but I thought this might be a better idea. You know, things have come on since the 1960s, so you know, I would like to think that I'm going to be putting some miles on this car, so I'd like it to be as reliable as possible. I have a camshaft nut. That's the locking plate, I think, for the timing chain tensioner. And I also have, although this doesn't look much different than a standard one, I don't think, I have, this is from, what's this from? Oh, A&H Spares. This is apparently, or is, a performance timing chain, although I do have a standard one to compare it to, but I don't know whether there's a lot of difference. I'm sure there is, but I've gone for that just to be safe. It's a, you know, more rugged timing chain, stronger. What else do I have? Nothing in that box, but over here I do have something else. I do have some other parts. What else do I have? Ah, these are useful. Ah, this is good. This is what I've been advised to use as well as graphogen. It's a running in paste, used when you're rebuilding engines. You don't have to, they say be liberal with it. I don't think you have to put gallons of it in. You just put a smear on items, surfaces that are going to be rubbing together. It's just a protection against that initial start-up. So there is that. There's a few other little bits and bobs. This is good. This is for my cam, my new cam. The cam didn't come with any kind of running in lubricant or pre-lube, and this is, you can probably read that on there, high performance cam lube and anti-wear assembly lube formulated with a high concentration of zinc, the phosphate, I can't say that, and it's to provide sustained protection against cam and cam follower scuffing. So when you first start up the engine, apparently you mustn't really let the engine idle for too long. You need to get the revs picked up, otherwise you can get this, I guess, this thing called cam scuff, or you can have the cam lobe wear away. So it shouldn't really idle. I think they recommend you get up to between sort of like 1,000 to 1,500 RPM from the get-go if you can. But this stuff is very sticky, so it will stick to the cams, or the whole camshaft, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put liberal amounts of this on, so it should stick to the cam and stay on the cam while it's bedding in. That's the idea anyway. Apparently modern oils don't contain a lot of zinc anymore, so I've heard, because it doesn't do favours to modern engine components, you know, like EGR valves and stuff like that. So that's that. What else have we got? Ooh, that's something good. That's a nice part. I do like this. This is a nice part, actually. This is an old style solenoid. This is actually the one that should have been in the car. It's actually got the, sorry, it's in the, I can't take it out of the bag because I'm trying to hold the phone at the same time, but it's got this push button starter. So that's the proper solenoid. That's for the car, which is good. That's that. That's a rev counter for my engine test bed. And then more bits. Let's have do a very good job of this, haven't I? What have we got in here? Heavy. This is good. So, excuse my single-handedness. Oh yes, lots of parts. Come out, you. What have we got here? Yes. Yeah. We have there, that is a bag full of brand new push rods. Since at any point, if I'm using a brand new camshaft, brand new followers, there's no point not having brand new push rods. And also the rocker shaft and rocker arms will all be brand new as well, because my original ones are absolutely shot to bits. So that's that. Excuse my. What else have we got? Oh yeah, there's something else that. Yeah, look at that. There we go. That's a new camshaft sprocket. Again, the old one was worn out, or it didn't look particularly good. Like someone hit it with a hammer at some point, maybe when they were reconditioning the engine, because the engine was a gold colour, which I presume means, and what I remember when I was obviously an apprentice years ago, that engine was reconditioned when they painted them gold. If I'm wrong, someone let me know. But who'd ever put the engine together had even put conrod bolts back in the wrong way and hammered them in and damaged the conrods and everything. So they've done a really good job. So let's pop that up there. What else have we got? Oh, what have we got in there? Oh, I think this is lots of odds and sods now. I think that's the oil pump drive. I won't get it out of there because it's in the protective grease paper. And that's the, I think that's the emergency, but it's the oil pressure relief valve spring, I think. What else have we got in here? Yep, they are, I think they're, I'm not too sure if they're main or conrod. They're either main bearing cap nuts or conrod nuts, one of the two. Let's have a look. Oh no, hang on. That's good, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they might be main cap nuts. I'm not sure. Either way, I've got main cap nuts and I've got big end bolts for the conrods. That's the shim that goes behind the camshaft where it pokes through the front of the engine. That's the, you can just see that, that's part of the pressure relief valve that sits on the end of that spring, and it sits inside the block in a hole in a seat. I'm not sure whether I need to recut the seat for that. Maybe someone can give me some info on that, because I don't have the tool to do it. No, I think we're out. Oh no, hang on. I think I've doubled up on some parts actually. Yeah, I have. I think I doubled up on a part. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I've actually already got one of these. This is the timing chain tensioner locking tabs. I've actually got 2 of those, so my mistake. And also, what we do have in here, some more. There's always loads of parts. It's taken me quite a while to buy all of this. It's not like I can just go to the shop and buy it all at once. I have to say it's quite expensive. Right. Yes, that is the kit to convert the engine to, excuse me sniffing, to a standard screw-on oil filter. Also, this is a Wix oil filter. I've not heard of this brand before, but I've actually seen demonstrations of, or a demonstration of a guy in America cutting these things open and comparing it to the quality of other oil filters, and these come up really, really good. These are on par with, or probably possibly better than Bosch oil filters. And when he compared this to a Fram filter, these are leagues and leagues ahead. Again, I've never heard of these before. I'm not sure if they're American or not. I don't know. But it was a guy in America doing a video, and these are very good filters, and if I can get these I'll be using these on other vehicles, because from what I could see, the quality of how they're made, the thickness of the steel, the quality of the medium inside was really, really good. And this is the bracket, or the boss that holds it onto the side of the engine. Okay, so that's that. That wasn't too bad. I can't remember what that was. I can't remember how much it was now. It was £45, something like that. I can't remember, but it wasn't a bad price. It's a good modification to do. More locking tabs. The long locking tabs are for the ones for the flywheel bolts, and that is for the locking tab for the end of the camshaft nut, if I remember rightly. I think, or the camshaft gear nut locking tab. I think I'm right. Okay, so that's that. And then in here, oh no, there's even more. These I've got to fit too. These are the reducers for the oil flow in the crankshaft. These go into, I think they go into the big ends and the mains, I think. I can't quite remember, but I'm going to have to try and get the old ones out. They do recommend that if your your crankshaft has been ground and seriously cleaned, like it has been, that these should be changed. And I've noticed that one of these, when I stripped the engine apart, had actually slid out and started carving into one of the big end bearings or bearing shells. So these will need redoing. So either I've got to try and extract them with a screw extractor. I don't really want to try drilling them out. I want to try a way of pulling them out if I can. If anyone knows how to get these out safely, obviously let me know. But I'm just going to be very, very careful not to damage, obviously, the bearing surface on the crankshaft when I'm trying to get that up, because obviously the crank's been reground. I don't want to have to regrind it again. And then what else have we got in here? Excuse my terrible camera workmanship. It's probably easier to do this on with a tripod. This is... Oh, come out, you. There we go, from AH spares, and this is an oil pump. There we go. I'm not going to get things out of their bags because they're kind of lubricated and protected at the moment. So that is, and you can just about see it, that's an oil pump. I did strip the old one thinking that I could actually repair it, but no, it had completely worn out. I guess I don't know if you what the right terminology is, but the rotors that run inside this, actually the ends of the spindles just go straight into the casting. There's no bearings or anything like that, so they'd actually worn into the casting and they were just chattering around, so they probably weren't doing a great deal. Hence why the camshaft, the crankshaft bearings were down to the copper, and that's probably why, because it's starting to lose oil pressure because the pump was failing. So I've got a brand new one. That's ready to go, and it is a standard one. I'm not running a performance version. So that's that. So I've got a load of parts. Obviously looking forward to fitting those. Oh, getting stiff at my old age. And that's it so far. The other thing I've been working on is this. I'll just carefully lean up against there. This is the start of the engine test unit. So this is obviously, I'm going to be trying to make this my I'll probably use this one as probably maybe fuel pump, maybe then ignition, and obviously I've got a start button there. I think these illuminate, which is quite handy. And then what I have in here in the box, what I was showing you before, is I have this rev counter. Move it around. There we go. There's the rev counter. And that hopefully will just sit in there like so, like that. I don't know why it already reads something. There are electronic ones, so I may have to ask the company to supply it, because I've noticed in all the pictures that they have of these on eBay, they all seem to be reading something in the picture, or they're not actually doing anything. I don't know whether it's a case of it needs to be lived up and set and it will go to 0. The other thing is I also have is this, although this is second hand, because the cost of mechanical oil gauges seems to be very, very expensive. This is from a Jeep apparently, but it came with some useful fittings. So that will go in there, like so. Won't sit in there. It's a little bit tight, maybe woods. Okay, so I'll do a tight fit, but yeah, there we go. So that's part of my test bed. So when I'm bedding in the engine, I've got some reference of what's actually going on. And the test bed will be partly the trolley that the block is sitting on now. So I'll make up some mounts for the engine mounts to sit on, and then make a pedestal for the dashboard to go onto, just a post on the side, and then try and develop some kind of hand throttle. So I've got some control over the engine. I do have this radiator. I'm considering having this taken somewhere, and actually an aluminium version of it being made as close as possible to this one. There are people that do sell refurbished versions of these, and I think you send them your old one as a Part X. I'm not too sure. I'm just considering that the cooling ability of this radiator compared to a modern aluminium one probably isn't going to be so good. This one's knackered, as you can tell, all the white, that's where it was leaking, and it was full of bars leak, I think, as well, that funny stuff you put in to try and stop it leaking. So I wouldn't be surprised if all the channels through the radiator are probably blocked up. Probably not done it any favours. So anyway, so that's where we're at. That's the project so far. And I shall try and keep you updated shortly. Once we get the engine working. I'd like to think this engine will be running by the summertime, I'd hope. It's just going to depend on parts now, because like I say, I'm still waiting on some exhaust manifolds and some other bits and bobs. So, as it is with most things, these are old, it's not always easy to find parts. So there we go. Well, there we have it. That's an update so far. So speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye bye.